Vaccine passports are coming. Someday soon, you may need to prove your COVID status to go to the pub, travel abroad, or even go to work. Governments hope these passes could be key to kickstarting the economy and restoring basic freedoms. But could this come at a cost to individuals? The weekend is underway in Tel Aviv in Israel. Restaurants here only recently reopened from lockdown, but COVID-19 feels like a distant memory. The reason? The Green Pass, an app that lets you prove you've had the jab.
You know, as a chef, it's make me happy. Like, it's a huge joy. We feel like we see colors again.
Israel is winning the global vaccination race. Most over 40s are now fully vaccinated. And if you've had both jabs, the Green Pass opens doors, giving you access to restaurants, hotels and gyms.
I saw a lot of young people that it was for them the incentive to do it. They wanted to come back to life, actually. More than a green paper, it's just come back to life.
The Green Pass might be new, but vaccine passports are not. Travellers to regions with yellow fever already need to carry a vaccination certificate. And children attending public school in America must be vaccinated for several diseases. But governments are now paying keen attention to schemes like the Green Pass.
EU leaders have agreed to develop a COVID-19 vaccine.
Digital vaccine passports that could help
to see if they could be key to lifting lockdowns. But how well would they actually work? Vaccine passports might not be that effective for two reasons. First, although vaccines prevent serious illness, it's not yet clear how effectively they stop the spread of COVID-19, particularly for new variants. So vaccinated people could potentially still pass COVID on to others. Second, vaccine passports are only useful for a very limited window domestically.
They're not very useful early on because there's not many people who would benefit, and they're not very useful late on either because vaccines work in two ways. They work by protecting you, by priming your immune system, so that if you meet an infection, you're ready to fight it off. But they also work by making sure that you mostly won't meet infection because other people around you are vaccinated too.
If, as in Israel, most people have been vaccinated, then the chances of meeting an infected person are low, so a vaccine passport adds little additional protection. However, in places that are taking longer to vaccinate, like the EU, these passports could be useful for much longer to help reopen the economy. But could COVID passports create inequality? Most countries are vaccinating old people first, and some think vaccine passports could risk creating a two-tiered society, where vaccinated seniors can resume normal life, while the young are stuck inside, waiting for the jab.
So if a vaccine passport is quite a temporary thing that maybe governments just use as one tool as they exit lockdown, if the government is quick and fair and transparent about it, I think that sort of issue of unfairness will seem reasonable. It's unfairness for a bigger fairness.
In Israel, relatively few under 16s have had the jab, so they can't go inside restaurants. But most seem willing to make this small sacrifice, or not eat out at all if it's too cold.
We got yesterday like 7 guests. That one of them was like 16 years old, and it was pretty cold outside. And they understand. They sat with the coat and all good. You know, we have to protect each other.
A bigger sticking point is jobs. Some businesses, from care homes to plumbing firms, have already said they'll require proof of vaccination from new employees.
We're just going to make it a requirement.
It's going to be important to protect customers and our members of staff.
This could make it harder for the unvaccinated to find work.
It's already the case that we require people in certain sensitive jobs, for example in the armed forces or working in certain healthcare settings, to have all their vaccines. So I don't think it would be unreasonable or surprising that COVID got added to that list. What we would worry about is if this became just a requirement to do any job.
This would be especially problematic as some groups are much less likely to have had the jab than others. Across 39 states in America, the vaccination rate among white people is over twice as high as the rate for Hispanic people, and nearly twice as high as the rate for black people. This may be because black Americans are, on average, younger than whites, meaning they're further back in the vaccine queue. They're also less likely to trust the vaccine because of a long history of misuse of health data and bad vaccine programs.
Where I think you might worry about entrenching inequality in the longer term is if this sort of scheme becomes a power grab and ends up being something that allows health data to be used to govern access to public spaces and to workplaces.
But this could be avoided if COVID passports are a temporary measure and restricted to certain key professions. There are also concerns over freedom of choice. Back in Tel Aviv, you need proof of vaccination to access many aspects of normal life. And some people, like Mikal, feel they had no choice but to have the jab.
I'm a healthy 41-year-old woman. I don't think I needed the vaccination against COVID. The only reason why I got the vaccination was not for health reasons. It was just because if you're not vaccinated, you can't go places, you can't go to the gym, you can't leave the country.
If COVID passports were to be rolled out, many people could face stark choices like these in return for short-term freedoms. Rather than feeling forced to have the jab, people should have access to information that allows them to make an informed decision. The Economist has built an interactive COVID-19 risk estimator to help with these decisions. You can try it yourself at the link above. Perhaps one of the biggest concerns around COVID passports is data privacy. A vaccine passport is based on sensitive health data, and some worry this could open the door to allowing governments to snoop on their citizens. Take Singapore. The government promised data gathered by its contact tracing app would only be used to stop the spread of COVID-19. But in January, they admitted the data had been shared with the police to fight crime.
Do we really want to live in a world where government agencies are able just to see where you were? You could imagine all sorts of bad uses for that data.
Singapore's government said the data sharing was a mistake. And developers working on vaccine passports are confident they will be designed in a way that will share minimal personal data. One area where development is racing ahead is international travel. There are already several digital health apps in development that allow people to prove they're COVID-free and, in time, vaccinated.
If you want people to be able to travel between countries that are at incredibly different stages in their journey towards conquering COVID, you might decide that you only allow people to cross borders if you could think of them as COVID safe.
Countries like Israel, America and Britain may be racing towards herd immunity, but large parts of Africa may not get the jab for at least the next 2 years. A COVID passport would let vaccinated people cross borders and provide a welcome boost to crippled economies. Countries like Greece have already said they will welcome vaccinated Brits this summer, but tourists shouldn't pack their bags just yet. A third wave of the virus is sweeping much of Europe, and vaccinated holidaymakers could still cause local outbreaks of disease.
Any tourists who arrive, even if they're vaccinated, they're going to be a reason that unvaccinated Greeks are coming out and mingling, and that will increase the number of cases. It's really a trade-off. It's a trade-off here between getting the economy going again and increasing the number of cases. Governments need to be really, really transparent about that, to explain to people this is the hard choice that's in front of us. What do you think? What are the trade-offs that you would find acceptable?
Israel's economy is predicted to grow by up to 7.5% this year if the vaccination programme continues at its current rate. But it remains to be seen how long this Green Pass effect will last. Vaccine passports are just one of many useful tools to help restart the global economy. And although developers are already overcoming concerns about privacy and security, their domestic success will depend on how well the vaccines themselves prevent transmission of COVID-19 and how quickly countries can reach herd immunity.
I'm Helen Joyce, Deputy Foreign Editor at The Economist. You can read my reporting on vaccine passports by clicking on the link opposite. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.